empire that others can only think of, a $300 billion cryptocurrency giant called Ethereum. His story is one of daring and creativity and a limitless desire to shape the world. What stands out even more is not simply the spectacular accomplishments for one still so young, but what the young man decided to do with his money. The road to the creation of Ethereum started years before the halls of the financial giants and power players of Wall Street, in the sections of the University of Waterloo where students spent their nights in the dorms studying computer science. As a child, Vitalik was interested in mathematics and specifically programming, which formed the basis of his work. But really, the key turning point in his life only came in 2011 when he came across Bitcoin. Introducing Vitalik to Bitcoin, his father did this when he was only 17 years of age. He was drawn by the idea of having a decentralized digital economy. It wasn't simply about the dollar, it was about the prospect of changing the ways of people's economic communication with each other. For every source, Vitalik immediately became a collaborator of Bitcoin magazine, where he started to delve into the prospects of blockchain. But taking into account the trend that Bitcoin set, there were problems. Vitalik visualizes something greater than just using Bitcoin as a currency but also as a place to run applications and smart contracts. Such a vision led to the creation of Ethereum, the platform that some years later changed the paradigm of blockchain and the possibilities of its use. So, later in 2013, he released what is described as Ethereum's white paper. The reaction that came back from the poll was phenomenal. Within a year, he got a team of developers and initiated a funding campaign but managed to collect more than $18 million in bitcoins. Ethereum was launched in 2015 and within a few years, it became one of the most important parts of the cryptosphere. It was more than just a currency since it was a distributed network that enabled engineers to create and implement self-running programs called smart contracts. This paved the way for many applications ranging from decentralized finance, DeFi, to non-fungible tokens, NFTs, and many more. Even as Ethereum was already skyrocketing and thus the Ethereum holders' wealth, including that of Vitalik, was rising, he continued to dwell more on the potential applications of the technology. With deep frustration by understanding how the internet was being developed and run, he saw the potential to usabilize the internet, making the internet something that people could control more of their lives with. This was the vision that led him to a path that would see him donate a major part of his wealth. Vitalik was a wealthy man as Ethereum's price became high, all thanks to his brilliance in creating the Ethereum network. Which makes him one of the youngest billionaires in the world by the age of 21. But rather than flexing in his success, he was still troubled by a question that would come to define his approach to life and wealth, which was, what is the use of such a huge amount of money? See, to some people, money is the objective while the dream or goal is to get rich, to be indulged, and to have a financial readiness. But, to Vitalik, money was just a means and an asset, which can help achieve certain goals and support dear causes. This mindset brought him to what could be described as a rather unconventional approach to the notion of philanthropy, as unconventional as the technology he was a part of. For him, effective selflessness is the professional version of this method of giving, as developed by Peter Singer, a famous philosopher. This is where the rationale of the word strategic comes into play. It's about giving, but about giving in the right order. In particular, for Vitalik it would mean fund projecting such initiatives that other people might consider as insignificant or even too dangerous. He preferred not to give checks to large defined charities because he thought that projects with a higher likelihood of bringing about great and sustainable change should be supported. This led him to fund millions for research of psychedelic therapy for mental disorders, the area where promising remains underfunded and relatively stigmatized. Then, why endanger himself by exerting those risks to his philanthropy? It is important to note how Vitalik is ready to spend money on weird ventures that do not have to make sense but can blow up, which fits the general picture of risk-taking. As Ethereum was an experiment in decentralization, his philanthropy is an experiment in solving old problems in a new way. For sure, it is culture that encourages exploration in search of new ideas and inventions, and the risk-taking that forms the basis of today's scientific discoveries and inventions. In the world of billionaires, one can hardly observe a trend of openness and transparency. Money is concealed through companies, bank accounts in other countries, and other forms of investment. Yet, Vitalik was not to follow this route. He also decided to reveal the wallet numbers of his crypto and the directions of his investments, and many gasped. This type of openness was not only for show but was more or less a claim of responsibility. By announcing the amount of money that he had made through his invention, Vitalik was stepping on taboo, which is the rule for the upper 1%, which is secrecy. It could be said that this was a way of saying that one has to be ready to be held accountable for the wealth one possesses and that wealth has to be used wisely. But can this level of transparency be sustained in the long run? And what does it imply for philanthropy as the field of practice in the next decade? In a world where power is a preserve of a few, his development companion model presents power as a communal venture, not as an individual's wealth but as a communal resource. Especially if compared to other philanthropists, Vitalik's philanthropy is both in terms of concept and procedure revolutionary. But when India was undergoing the second wave of COVID-19 in the year 2021, the reserve was in the limelight for a contribution or donation as shocking as it was monumental. He charitably gave more than $1 billion in crypto to India's COVID cause. But it gets even better, this wasn't even his own money. The $25 which set off the testimony was borrowed from Super. These funds were derived from meme coins, which are cryptocurrencies such as SHIB which creators had dumped to him in the belief he would pump it. This time, Vitalik sold off the coins which brought down the value, and meanwhile provided $76 million in real since aid. This action was very likely to transform the meme coins into a humanitarian supply to a ruined country. What Vitalik gave to India was not only money but the result of that contribution, the necessary change. Phoenix hires individuals to run its charity campaigns, which brings about the use of cryptocurrency for funding, unlike the conventional charity structures that may include severe bureaucracy and may take time to fund certain projects. The donation remained free from the typical obstacles of international aid and delivered the help where it was needed and as soon as possible. It also underscored that crypto in general can be a powerful tool in the sphere of philanthropy in the larger sense of the term. Cryptos can be transferred and used in transactions far faster compared to conventional capital, which perhaps requires some time to encash and transfer. This creates new opportunities for reaction to emergencies and backing of initiatives in real time. But this approach, like any other, has some issues. This places and leaves many charities in a tenuous position because the future of cryptocurrency is unpredictable as well as the future value of the donations. Other issues raised in this paper pertain to the stability in the market as well as the nature of regulation about the cryptocurrency, issues that may pose a threat to the future of such philanthropic endeavors. Thus, Vitalik's philanthropy is not only related to crisis response. He has also invested tens of millions of dollars in research and projects that most of the local charitable people would not dare to fund. This means providing money to investigate ways to increase human life expectancy, investigate the potential use of psilocybin in treating mental diseases, and support endeavors to encode safeguards on AI. Neither are these hobbies, they are investments in future services and product offerings. According to Vitalik, by investing in what others find weird and unprofitable, he hopes to be able to advance the frontiers of humanity's knowledge. That's a mentality that fits nicely into his larger strategy of devolution and diffusion of control. But why pay so much attention to such rather exotic sources? But for Vitalik, it's not just about that or merely quizzing the value of philanthropy systems that curb experimenting on earth difficult questions that may not always intrigue the standard philanthropy. What are the ways or strategies that people can use to lead longer and healthier lives? What are the prospects for improving the cognition of treatment of the psyche? How do we establish that the AI we create is safe and works for the benefit of mankind? Such are the kinds of questions that propel his philanthropic ventures and place him in a different league from your other billionaires. But like most of the ideas coming from Vitalik, his move on philanthropy has also not been without controversy. For them, he is naive because he is too focused on experimental causes and probably does not comprehend the nature of the society that he wants to transform. Some people argue that it is true that he is very open, but this is rather a disadvantage because now really critical themes are constantly highlighted too. There are also concerns about the possible influence of his acts and decisions on such a market as the crypto one. Some of Vitalik's critics claim that he was worsening the situation when he sold the meme coins whose value rapidly fell soon after. Some say that he gives them to have some tax deductions while others say that it is a way of making himself look good. These criticisms it can be responded to in various ways, but Vitalik's response is always a bit modest. Sometimes he has dismissed the charges saying that he did this, that, and the other, instead of why he did it. For him, it is not the question of searching for a pen for certain people to approve him or for others to disapprove of him, it is the question of what is right. In interviews, he also articulates the need to avoid losing sight of himself, of the core of what it was that led him to build Ethereum. He continues to be sincere and does not fool around like many other successful people at his level do, not having opulent lives. Vestager's focus stays on technology and the possibility of a revolution in the world. Wait. This doesn't imply that he is free from difficult situations regarding his position. Particularly considering that Vitalik is among the most important personalities in the crypto world, he has to face the smakes of power and responsibility daily, as well as constant public attention. The decisions he makes bear not just personal ramifications, but these are capable of charting a course for an entire industry. Another advantage and disadvantage at the same time is that Vitalik freely shares with the public any information about the project. On the one hand, it initiates a new culture of transparency and challenges the sphere of wealth and philanthropy. On the other hand, it makes him vulnerable to something that not many are capable of handling, criticism and negative backlash. For Vitalik, this is not only about explaining what the world will get from him, it also means changing the rules of the game and eradicating the established financial practices of secrecy. It is the assertion that reveals the type of world that man desires, a world where the acre indulges in more than mere accumulation of wealth, but the wealth's utilization for the betterment of society. So, on the scale of this openness be maintained in the long term? And what does that predict for the future of philanthropy? These seem to be questions that Vitalik still has to solve, and they are questions that are going to follow him forever. As we look to the future, one question becomes large: what future does Vitalik Buterin have? Is he going to be appreciated as a strategic businessman who invested his money in an idea that was going to change the world, or is he going to be considered an exception in the world where the disabled and people in need are often forgotten to make big money? He has already started causing ripples in philanthropy, although one might argue that he was just trying to weave his way through a PR nightmare. His extreme openness, his readiness to finance the revolution, and his attention to change rather than money have made several people rethink how to philanthropize. But can such ideas find nourishment on a wider palette? The answer to this question does not only lie in what next step Vitalik will take, but also in how society will respond to the action of this young man. Will those follow him in such actions, or will his experiment remain an exception to the creativity of philanthropy? Such a story prompts various questions associated with the functioning of society and the role of money in it as well. As global income disparity soars and people's faith in conventional leadership wanes, his behaviors compel us to reconsider the nature of richness. Aren't people wealthy if they have a house, car, money, or a job, or does being wealthy mean that you can make a change in this world? It is a question that could be said is more than about him and refers to the foundations of our economy and societies. It's a question that makes people force themselves to change and think about how they can apply as many resources but as little as possible to make the change. As we close this chapter on Vitalik Buterin's journey, we are left with one final question: what type of mark/vestige would you want to be remembered for? Financial status may be measured in billions or hundreds of dollars, however, value added to society defines the real richness. This is not only a narrative of a young man's climb to greatness and success, but also one that reflects on the position of the modern world. This is a call to discussion for all of us to step back and analyze our interaction with this phenomenon called money, to question what it means to be rich and to ponder what it will mean for all of us if we are willing to contribute even if we only have a drop in the bucket. Therefore, what are you going to do with your resources, your special strengths, and your hours? The challenge is clear. It is imperative to be creative and think out of the box, but at the same time, it is crucial to define the objective and overarching goal of a particular design element clearly. For in the end, the wealth, the riches one obtains is not the money one gains, but the lives they impact. There is much more to the story of Vitalik Buterin, and the world will have to wait and see where this path will take the young man. Will his extreme ways of philanthropy become a new trend, and more people follow what he does, or will this only become an exception in this world ruled by dollars? What is obvious is that Vitalik has already left his trace not only in the sphere of crypto but also in the field of philanthropy and the change of the world for the better. His eagerness to take some risk, his passion for disclosing some information, and his concentration on the efficiency of the impact rather than money prove him to be a model 21st century philanthropist. While the actual subject of curiosity is what further steps Vitalik will take, the real matter at issue is what we will do next. Will people remain servants of money and income, striving to increase it and guard it against others, or will they be inspired by him and use money positively, pursuing its virtuous purpose? The answer to this question will define the future of philanthropy and what we will be leaving behind for the generations to come. Vitalik Buterin's journey forces us to ask ourselves, what would we do if we had billions?